I always wanted to be a movie star. I always wanted to be a movie star.
Why do I have to do it, and why can't I just be an ordinary person? Why am I doing this? Why do I have to do it, and why can't I just be an ordinary person?
I always wanted to be a movie star.
It was the day that she started knowing she had a gift that started showing. It was the day that she started knowing she had a gift that started showing. The star maker pulled the strings. He gave her golden wings. But vicious snakes invade her world with cigarettes and purple pills.
Coming soon to this theater.
The authorities declare the Bronx a high-risk zone. There's only one alternative: destroy it. Destroy it. Escape from the Bronx. Escape from the Bronx. Escape from the Bronx.
Boom, crash, bang. Welcome back to the Drive-In Asylum double feature. I'm Bill Van Ryn, and with me tonight is Gigi Graham.
Thank you for joining us on the late night, everybody, for the infamous third segment. Also, this is such a Sam movie. This has to be a Sam pick next week.
How'd you guess?
It's got everything except for a whole lot of women screaming.
Next weekend on the Drive-In Asylum. We'll be the Drive-In Asylum late movie again next week. We'll be on at 11 p.m. Saturday night for Escape from the Bronx. Have you heard about the Bronx? I guess you need to escape now. Is that true?
I don't go all the way up there. That's too far of a trip. I mean, I hope they're all right. I hope whatever, thing isn't coming down into the rest of the city. I don't know. But, we've got to get our hazmat suits out. We're all going to have to escape.
It looked pretty dire in that trailer, so I hope everything's okay there. So yeah, next Saturday at 11 p.m. Escape from the Bronx. And for now, though, you've got me and Gigi to talk about our second feature tonight, Prey, from Norman J. Warren, director, auteur. Is he an auteur? Probably not.
I sometimes feel like that's a theory that gets put in places it doesn't belong.
Yeah. Maybe that's not the right word for what he is.
That, and because it's so hard to prove like intent with a lot of these films, I don't want to assume I know, what the creators of these films intended too much.
He's got his own style. There's definitely an identifiable style there for each film.
There are definitely a pervasive sense of ricketiness. Where everything is just barely holding together. It's kind of like breaking in traffic, stopping and starting in terms of like plot threads and narrative vibe.
Yeah, it's just the bare minimum. This is almost, this really is a 3-person drama for the most part that goes totally alien batshit crazy, especially at the end.
Well, I think it's kind of interesting because with Liquid Sky, there was some messaging in there that was in terms of gender and sexuality that was very like forward thinking and expansive. Whereas with Prey, you kind of get the sense that this was definitely script polished over by a man or someone who wasn't real familiar with anything having to do with lesbians or lesbian culture. And so it was just like, okay, that one's got short hair. She's butch. She hates men a whole lot. And this one's going to wear dresses because she's femme. And that's about as far as it went. And it's kind of telling that that's where this movie's head's at, because like the whole time, men are terrible, men are awful, men are terrible, everything else. But the first thing she does when she wants to humiliate Anders and hopefully make sure Jessica doesn't have any interest in him anymore is to dress him like a woman. And this doesn't read like a fetishistic thing. This reads like she's trying to humiliate him, which says a lot about what she thinks about women. It's a big, like, not like other girls energy. And that's not a good thing.
There was also that moment where she ends up dancing with Anders, who, and they almost kiss. So the movie seems to be suggesting, all she needed was the right man.
Oh, absolutely. The fact that, they almost kiss, Jessica wants to run away with him. Yeah. All she needed was a good man.
She wasn't in a normal relationship with Jessica, though.
No, I mean, right from the beginning, their first scene together, Josephine is basically telling her, don't, eat this, don't drink that. You need to stop with the soda and quit smoking and all of this. It's like, damn, just let her have her Coca-Cola. Like, it's not that serious.
She was more her prisoner.
Yeah, and it was Jessica's house, which makes it even crazier that she's, trying to run things in somebody else's house.
Really
Mike, I think the implication is that maybe because the first thing Josephine thinks Anders is an escapee from a mental asylum, which is telling, and she gets real nervous when Jessica says she's going to call the cops. So I'm going to assume that Josephine is probably a mental asylum inmate that escaped.
Yeah, I think there was something nearby, and she hypothesized that maybe he had escaped from this nearby hospital And really, she arrived at that manor under the same circumstances. Just mysteriously, she showed up one day and never left.
And the mysterious disappearance of the previous Jessica at one point had a boyfriend named Simon. And where did Simon go?
Yeah, I think she stabbed the shit out of him.
Absolutely, with that big ass switch.
That was amazing. Dangerous. She was almost, Uma Thurman in Kill Bill with that damn thing.
In terms of things I like about this movie, it's just as rickety as every other movie this director did. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's a particularly, whereas our first film was an abundance of style on a very small budget. This, especially in terms of the alien makeup, the transformation makeup, definitely shows its budget in spots. But the thing I do think is kind of interesting is that they could cheat that alien invasion the way they could, relying on people to fill in the gaps from being like trained that those things happen when aliens land in a bunch of other movies.
Yeah, all they did was flash some colored lights on her that could have come from any disco rig. It reminded me of the way they depicted the landing of the spaceship in Evils in the Night, which actually did show us a little bit of spaceship.
Tiny bit. Little sliver.
Something. It was more like a space Volkswagen. But this movie had no
single
spaceship.
jankiest spaceship I've ever seen on film. And this is otherwise a delightfully trashy movie. I think it's from like 2014 or 2015, but Llamageddon.
I never saw that.
Deadly llama space aliens. It was made for nothing. It's unapologetically cheap. It's hilarious, but it's the single worst spaceship I've ever seen on film.
How about the spaceship in Liquid Sky?
I mean, that's no worse than your average Ed Wood spaceship.
He accurately described it as a dinner plate, so I think we're onto something there. But Anders had no spaceship that we saw. He did have a space transmitter. I don't even remember what it looked like. Do you?
I'm not sure if that they ever actually show it to you. He always goes to the same place to talk into it. That like abandoned, looks like maybe part of a barn, like crumbling structure, and it's like tucked under the eave. But they never actually show us the machinery. They don't give us that good, like, IBM Selectric beep, boop, beep, flashing lights, and, it takes up a wall.
Yeah. Anders, he seemed to have some issues too, because there were a few moments where he seemed to almost show some kind of interest in these women that went beyond like just at times it seemed like he actually wanted to interact with them, that like he wanted to figure out what it was like to have emotions for each other.
Well, I mean, the first people he encounters, he kills them, but he doesn't necessarily eat them. He doesn't characterize them as food. And I kind of get the implication that like maybe everybody would have been all right, except something in sex drive is a primal drive, and that reawakened his predator instincts and made them prey. Because again, there is no subtlety in a Norman J. Warren movie.
There were also so many similarities to the fox in this, and the movie makes no secret about it because a fox becomes a central issue, and the alien kind of looks like a fox too.
The one scene to me that does legitimately work in terms of like this apex predator alien is when he just drops the fox on their coffee table and is like, I brought this for you, like a cat bringing you a dead mouse.
Yeah, he was a guest in their house, so maybe that's what he should have done all along. But yeah, that was an interesting moment. This movie's full of them, isn't it?
I mean, this movie is full of something. I'm not sure what. Don't know how many polite words there are for whatever this movie's full of. No, but for something that was being written as it went along, it works well enough. And when you're at this level of price point, this level of resource, something that's a one location, almost a chamber drama probably isn't a bad idea.
You said this was filmed on a back lot?
It was a manor and a backlot. Let me double check my notes here and see if I wrote down which studio's backlot they had.
Well, I recognize that bridge, that footbridge, in several other films. There was a movie, I remember Christopher Lee standing on that bridge, like throwing body parts into the water.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't grab what studio backlot they had access to. I just grabbed that it
Yeah.
was because I was transcribing from an interview that he did with Alexander on Film, I believe.
Oh, great.
But yeah,
Well,
that's
there was
also why the house is, kind of tossed together. It's they had to use it while they had it, and it needed to be done. There was no opportunity for reshoots.
I thought that bed was kind of alarmingly large.
That house was alarmingly large.
Yeah, what was going on there? Could you imagine the upkeep?
Oh, God, you need help, staff. I mean, I think you're right, Mandy, that like being what this lives and dies on the performances, which honestly are pretty decent for this category film, this class of film. Like I buy that the two women have a dysfunctional relationship.
Yeah. There was at least that realistic element to this, even though it is a silly alien thing, but there was some gravity to it as well.
Also, good catch, Matt, that they're apparently Atkins. Everything has to be high in protein.
John Stryker says the worst spaceship he saw was in Teenagers from Outer Space.
That's pretty fair.
That was the one with the gun that blasted the flesh off of people, wasn't it?
I think so. I think that's Teenagers from Outer Space.
1 minute a girl, the next minute a skeleton. That was on the ad.
Also, for what this movie is, being that it's not explicitly marketed as being like a more sexploitation type of movie, there is a decent amount of sex and nudity in this. That is a bit surprising.
It was a little out there with it. It was right there in your face too. I respect that in a film.
I just know, without looking it up, that the scene of sexual cannibalism probably was on every box cover this ever had. Because how could you not pick that up if you saw that at the VHS store, like, at the video rental place?
It was definitely on the cover of the Japanese VHS.
You'd be sorely disappointed because that conditions you to expect a much bigger, bloodier movie. But I mean, that's kind of how those things worked.
Yeah, that's literally all you got. That was typical for Norman J. Warren also, because I remember, speaking of Inseminoid, there was a big buildup to the birth of her babies, or what were they going to look like, and Fangoria showed them, or Famous Monsters or something had a still image of the babies, and you kind of thought that like the babies were going to be what the movie was about, but no, the babies were literally about 60 seconds of screen time, maybe even less than that, at the end of the movie, and then it was over. So he was at least
did any of his films have any money? I don't believe so. I don't.
Did any of his what?
Did any of his films have any money to speak of? I don't think so.
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look like it. What do I know how much about a movie costs, though? Terror looks pretty good. I think that one looked all right. Bloody New Year did not.
I mean, I feel like it's easier when you're doing something slower.
It was interesting. You said he was in sexploitation films before he got
like ish, adjacent, like not like the real crazy stuff, but yeah, he swapped over. He declined to make a film in 1970 that was like another more like erotic type film, sexploitation kind of film, and started making low budget horrors instead. Chris Tygon would have been better off to put this out than some of the things they put out around that time. I still want to punch whoever the executive over at Tygon was for making me sit through the goddamn Playbirds.
Did Tygon put out the Playbirds? Who was in that?
Mary Millington, Diana Dore's husband, last husband, Alan Lake.
Okay.
A whole bunch of people embarrassing themselves for a paycheck. Well, it is not as bloody as something like, the New York Ripper or Giallo in Venice. It is so misogynistic, and it's all played for comedy. And I'm like, I don't know that it's possible for me to want to hate this movie any more than I already do.
I loved reading your review of it. Did they put out the Blood Beast Terror? Was that Tygon as well?
Possibly. It was probably at the very, very end.
It was 73, I think.
I don't think were they already headed down the toilet at that time, money-wise?
The Blood Beast Terror was very chintzy. It's a Peter Cushing film, and he's
no.
good
But I'm
it.
trying to think, was Tygon that broke at that time?
Oh, probably.
Because I know by 78 they were on their last legs.
No, Blood Beast Terror was 68, but yeah. Let's see.
They did do Blood Beast Terror. Actually, that was before things got real bad.
I don't know. It was pretty bad in the Blood Beast Terror.
Well, no, but I mean, by the time you get to right before they shut everything down, you're talking about Hellcats, mud wrestling.
So yeah, that would have been interesting to see Prey released like a more legitimate Hammer film or something, but obviously it wasn't. I didn't find very many theatrical dates for this movie. Like I said, when I was researching it, it was difficult.
I mean, if you only found one ad, then I believe you that there was no ad to be found.
It never came out theatrically in the States.
I don't think so, no. Because, I mean, if that had been the case, you would have found something somewhere.
Yeah.
At least one listed play date.
Yeah, I think home video was the first time the States ever got it.
Yeah, because, I mean, there was such a need for content at that point that they'd take anything.
Yeah.
It wouldn't matter what.
Even Prey.
Good, bad, indifferent. Microwave Massacre exists, so anything will do.
So, anything else you want to say about Prey before we move on?
You know what? The one thing I don't blame the alien for is that he basically hacks up what they serve him because it looked alarmingly grayish.
Yeah, he had no qualms about letting them know that he didn't. Even her cake, he refused.
Well, because again, we have to make that subtext text. There will be no subtleties. Obviously he's predatory, so he's a carnivore. Vegetables are for sissy omnivores.
I like Prey a lot, and it did go really well with Liquid Sky. They both had a similar kind of thing going on, and yet went in totally different directions with it.
The two divergent roads of lesbians and aliens and queer folks and aliens. Just pick your path, choose your own adventure.
I'm glad most of you in the chat seem to have liked it too.
Yeah, were there any first timers aside Mandy? Was this the first time I think Mandy had seen it?
Yeah, a couple other people. Jody didn't like it. Jody said it was bad. I think Dustin said he liked it. I'm not sure. My chat doesn't seem to want to scroll back that far. But anyway, we're glad that you hung out and watched it with us tonight.
Yes, thank you everyone for staying up super late. Matt and Pamela both had never seen it.
Oh, right on. So that's great. And of course, Mike Justice hadn't seen it. I never know when he's telling the truth.
He says that to all the guys.
So, do you have anything coming up in the near
Not that
future?
I can announce just yet,
Oh,
but you
that's
can
right.
always come hang out with me on the socials at Ms. Midnight Movie on Twitter and Instagram. And you can come, chat movies with me on my website as well. That's midnightmoviemonster.com. There's some fun stuff coming down the pipeline, but it's not anything I can just talk about just yet. So wait it out. Come chat with me. Tell me my taste is questionable. It's perfectly fine. I already know.
Absolutely. My taste is extremely questionable, and that's why we get along so well. I'm always excited when you want to come do the show, so thank you very much.
Well, today I'm just a substitute teacher. Next week, the lovely Sam Panico is back for the late movie. But
Yeah,
it was fun sitting in his chair. I wish I got as much cool mail as he does.
I know. That's what we're missing from this
Yeah,
segment.
that's what we're missing. The what came in the mail for Sam this week, which is usually something really fun.
It's always something good. Last week he showed tentacles, and he revealed that he had never seen tentacles. And
well, you should have told him not to correct that because tentacles is it's interesting.
It's pretty bad, but of course, he texted me and loved it. We were talking tentacles via text message earlier this week, so it's right up his alley.
That's true. He tends to be more patient with the kind of movie that particular movie is than I think you or I might.
It just disappointed me. Tentacles disappoints me. It disappoints me every time I watch it.
Because on paper, it should be a better movie than it is.
Absolutely. I love octopuses. I think they're so cool, and I love to watch them move. And I was like, wow, this is going to be a monster octopus. And it totally isn't.
And then it is very much not that.
Yeah. It's a regular size octopus in an aquarium with a toy boat. So I was a little disappointed in that. And it didn't actually have any really good kills in it. But I don't know. It's a beautifully shot film. There's some great ocean photography and great underwater photography.
I mean, but you could have bought some of that stock footage.
Yeah. It's just so boring. And but it's amazing the people who are in that film. I mean, Bo Hopkins,
Shelley Winters,
Cesare Danova.
Like, I'm sorry, Shelley Winters in the 70s. I'm sold.
I know.
Oh,
Peter
this might
Fonda.
have a giant octopus in it. Like, that movie is so frustrating. Because
John
on
Huston.
paper, this should be the most wonderful shit I have ever seen in my life. Like, Shelley Winters and a giant octopus. Done. Take my money. And then what you get is that.
Yeah. I don't know. There was just nothing happening. And Shelley Winters' part is totally extraneous. She does not interact with the octopus at all. She does her big scene on a walkie-talkie.
Collected her check and left.
Yeah. Her trip to Italy.
Yeah. Her vacation and her money. And she, said good day.
John Huston, also, no reason to be in the film. He's a reporter investigating something that never really gets solved in the film. Everybody goes home disappointed.
I feel like it was just like, another person collecting a check. We need somebody to put on the top line of this thing.
So, yeah, I have a love-hate relationship. I still... I own the theatrical one sheet. I have a press book. I have a Japanese program.
I don't know. That's a lot of investment in a movie that you do not like.
I know. I have a couple of different. I have a Spanish poster that depicts a totally awesome movie that is not tentacles. It's like a gigantic octopus with a tentacle up destroying a ship. That never happens. Don't get your hopes up.
Yeah, I don't know. I find it suspect. That's a lot of time and money and investment for a movie you don't actually like. Maybe it's growing on you.
I don't think so. I keep giving it a chance, and I did buy the Blu-ray. So I did.
Again, You got the press book, you got posters, you got the Blu-ray. That seems like an awful lot of time and money for a movie that you don't like.
Okay, I admit it. I love tentacles.
It's okay. It's a safe space here. You can admit your love for tentacles.
I want to love tentacles. I want to love it so bad. I want to wrap all 8 arms around tentacles.
And it just doesn't want to love you back.
Anyway, it's angry at me for all that sashimi I've eaten.
Dustin, I'm not saying collecting a check like it's a bad thing, but you can tell when somebody's doing it. Like when I can see an actor making their grocery list in their head, that's not necessarily a good thing.
So, yeah, thanks to everybody for coming and hanging out with us. We had a lot of fun doing the show. I did. I hope you did too. Gigi.
Always a good time. I'm always happy to hang out with you guys. And you know that even on the weeks when I'm not on, I'm usually lurking the, peanut gallery down there with my little fashion roundups.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to see you here, Gigi. And to see all of you who were in the chat tonight. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you for staying out late.
Come back next Saturday night, 11 p.m. Eastern Time, and we'll watch Escape from the Bronx. Sam Panica will be back on the Drive-In Asylum late
Under
movie.
17, not admitted
Good
without
night.
parents or
Good
guardian.
night.
Under 17, not admitted without parents or guardian.